You walk into a room and the atmosphere doesn't change. You speak, but your words dissolve into the noise of other people's conversations. You are the one who moves out of the way on the sidewalk. You are the one who apologizes when someone else bumps into you. It is a quiet, suffocating existence, isn't it? The feeling of being invisible. You have convinced yourself that you are just being polite, that you are a nice guy, but deep down your spirit knows the truth. You are not being polite, you are being harmless, and in the eyes of human nature, harmless men are never respected. They are used, ignored, or forgotten. To change this, you do not need to become a villain. You do not need to become loud or aggressive. In fact, true power is often silent. We are going to strip away that nice guy mask and replace it with something darker, something more primal. We are going to use psychology to hack the social hierarchy so that when you walk into a room next time, heads turn, not because you demanded it, but because your presence commands it. These are not tips for making friends. These are triggers for generating instant respect. The first trigger is what I call the vacuum of silence. Most men are terrified of awkward pauses. When a conversation dies, you rush to fill the silence with nervous chatter, with a joke, with anything to lower the tension. You do this to make the other person comfortable. But by doing so, you signal that their comfort is more important than your own composure. You signal submission. Next time, do the opposite. When you ask a question and they give a half-hearted answer, or when someone tries to insult you with a subtle dig, do not speak. Look at them. Hold your gaze. Let the silence stretch out for 3, 4, 5 seconds. In that silence, their brain will panic. They will wonder if they said something wrong. They will wonder why you aren't reacting. Humans are social animals. We are programmed to seek validation. By withholding your reaction, you become the judge. You create a vacuum that they feel forced to fill, often by explaining themselves or seeking your approval. The person who is most comfortable with silence is always the person with the most status in the room. Stop rushing to speak. Let them sit in the tension you created. The second trick is about your eyes. Most people look, but they do not see. When you're listening to someone, you likely nod your head rapidly, smiling, signaling, "I agree, please like me." Stop that immediately, it makes you look desperate. Instead, use the predator's gaze. When they speak, keep your head still, blink less. Focus your eyes on one of theirs, then shift to the other, then down to their mouth and back up. This is called the triangle method, and psychologically it signals deep evaluation. It tells their subconscious that you are analyzing them, not just listening to them. It shifts the dynamic from two equals to an evaluator and a subject. You have likely noticed that when a powerful leader or an apex predator moves, they move slowly. They are never in a rush. This brings us to the third psychological trigger, the law of delayed reaction. When someone calls your name, you probably snap your head around instantly. When someone tells a joke, you are the first to laugh. You do this because your nervous system is wired for fawning, a trauma response where you try to appease others to stay safe. You are subconsciously telling the world, "I am here. I'm available, please acknowledge me." This is the behavior of a servant, not a king. To command respect, you must decelerate. When someone calls your name, count to 2 before you turn. When someone asks you a tough question, pause and inhale before you answer. This micro delay sends a powerful message to their lizard brain. I am on my own time. I am not at your disposal. It creates an air of heaviness around you. People respect what they cannot rush. If you are always accessible, always instant, you have no value. Scarcity creates value, and that includes the scarcity of your reactions. Stop giving your energy away so cheaply to people who haven't earned it. Let's go deeper into the physical realm with the fourth trigger, territorial dominance. Watch how you sit in a chair. You probably keep your legs close together, your arms tucked in, your phone clutched to your chest. You are shrinking yourself to avoid being a burden. You are physically apologizing for your existence. The world treats you like a background character because you are posing like one. Evolution dictates that the animal that controls the most space controls the hierarchy. You need to hack this evolutionary bias. When you sit, open your posture. Put your arm over the back of the chair. When you stand, keep your feet shoulder width apart. Do not lean against the wall for support. Stand under your own weight. This isn't about being obnoxious. It is about claiming your right to occupy space in this reality. When you shrink, you signal fear. When you expand, you signal comfort. And in a high-pressure social environment, the person who looks the most comfortable is the one everyone else will look to for leadership. They will respect you because you feel safe to be around. A nervous man makes everyone else nervous. A grounded man anchors the room. Now, the fifth trick is the most dangerous if used incorrectly, but the most effective if mastered. The art of calm disagreement. You have been conditioned to be agreeable. You nod at opinions you hate. You say maybe when you mean no. You think this makes you likable, but it actually makes you untrustworthy. If you agree with everything, your agreement means nothing. People respect a man with edges. They respect a man who has boundaries. Next time someone says something you disagree with, do not smile and nod. Simply say, I see it differently. Do not apologize, do not get angry. Just state your truth and leave it there. The moment you disagree calmly, you signal that your values are stronger than your need for approval. But this brings us to the sixth trigger, which is the antidote to your biggest social weakness, the information gap. You have a habit of oversharing. When someone shows you a tiny bit of attention, you vomit your entire life story, your insecurities, and your secrets. You do this because you are starving for connection. You think that by opening up they will like you. But in the early stages of respect, mystery is currency. When you tell people everything, you become a solved puzzle. And once a puzzle is solved, it is put back in the box and ignored. You must learn to be vague. When they ask what you did on the weekend, do not give a 10-minute breakdown. Say, I was working on a project, and leave it at that. Let them wonder. Let them fill in the gaps with their own imagination. People always imagine the best about things they do not fully understand. By withholding information, you force them to chase you for clarity. You become a book with missing pages that they are desperate to read. Stop giving yourself away for free to people who haven't paid the price of admission. Finally, the seventh and most lethal trigger is the willingness to walk away. This is the ultimate negotiation tactic in business, in dating, and in friendship. The person who needs the relationship less always holds the power. But you are terrified of losing people. You stay in conversations that are boring. You stay in friendships that are one-sided. You stay in relationships where you are disrespected. And they can smell your fear of abandonment. They know you won't leave, so they treat you like furniture. You must develop the mindset that you are perfectly fine on your own. When you are truly willing to walk away from a deal, a girl, or a group, you communicate a signal of high value. You are saying, my standards are higher than my loneliness. When you start cutting off people who disrespect you, the ones who remain will adjust their behavior instantly. They will realize that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. You must be willing to burn the bridge if it leads to a place where you are small. But now we must face the brutal reality. You can memorize these 7 tricks. You can widen your stance, slow down your voice, and hold eye contact until your eyes burn. But if you do not fix the rot inside, it will all be a performance. People are intuitive. They can sense when a man is acting. They can sense the trembling frequency of a nice guy hiding behind a Sigma mask. If you use these tricks but still feel like a scared child on the inside, you will eventually crack. The facade will slip. We need to understand why you struggle with respect in the first place. It is not because you lack tricks. It is because somewhere along the line, you were trained to be submissive. Maybe it was a strict parent who equated obedience with love. Maybe you were bullied and learned that being invisible was the only way to be safe. You learned that having needs made you a burden, so you killed your aggressive side. You buried your shadow. You became a good boy. And now, as a grown man, you are realizing that the world eats good boys alive.